Hello, friends. I'm Louie Louie, and today I'll talk about supergroups. Supergroups have been something usual since the beginnings of rock and roll. In 1954, Jerry Lee Lewis, Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, and Carl Perkins formed a supergroup to play a jam session at some studios. It was maybe the first rock supergroup, although the union had been restricted to just a studio jam, and that's why the supergroup did not make part of my list. Still, it's a good example of a supergroup, and since then, several supergroups have been formed. Some last only one album, others record an album and play some concerts. Some supergroups are more like side projects, while others play together for many, many, many years and record a lot of songs. So, these are my favorite rock and roll supergroups of all time. 5. Then Crooked Vultures, Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters and Josh Homme from Queens of the Stone Age joined John Paul Jones, the former Led Zeppelin bass player, to form the band Then Crooked Vultures. The project had already existed since 2005, but the trio could only align their respective schedules 4 years later. The sound of Then Crooked Vultures is more of a Queens of the Stone Age sound than a Foo Fighters sound or a Led Zeppelin sound. However, you can hear the interplay among the three musicians on the self-titled great album released in 2009, in my opinion, one of the best albums released in the 2000s. 4. Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Emerson, Lake and Palmer can be considered the first progressive rock supergroup. In 1969, a band called The Nice played a concert alongside King Crimson at the Fillmore West in San Francisco, and Keith Emerson, already tired of The Nice, talked to Greg Lake from King Crimson about the idea of forming a band together. Lake accepted the proposal after his band started to disintegrate during a tour, but they needed a drummer, and so Carl Palmer, a 19-year-old young talent from the band Atomic Rooster, joined the new band, and together the three musicians formed one of the most important progressive rock bands, which recorded some great albums, especially Pictures at an Exhibition, released in 1971. 3. Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young. One former member of the Byrds, David Crosby, one former member of Buffalo Springfield, Stephen Stills, and one former member of the Hollies, Graham Nash, met at Johnny Mitchell's house in California in July of 1968 to make history. At this meeting, the trio put their voices together and formed one of the most important rock and roll supergroups in history. Their style was unique, different from the other supergroups basically formed by great musicians. Crosby, Stills, and Nash was a trio comprised above all by great voices. And after Neil Young joined the band, the great Neil Young, the band, which in 1969 recorded the great album Deja Vu, released in 1970, and also joined the legendary Woodstock Festival lineup. 2. Cream. Cream was formed by guitar hero Eric Clapton from the Yardbirds, plus bass player Jack Bruce and drummer Ginger Baker, both from Blues Incorporated. And many Eric Clapton fans like me consider the band Cream something like the best period of the guitar player's career. Cream was formed in 1966, soon after Clapton's brief stint with the John Mayall's Blues Breakers, and Cream was truly a dream team of musicians. Just 2 years were enough for the band to be immortalized in the history of rock and roll. Cream was one of the best power trios of all time, maybe the best. Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker formed great rhythm sections to Eric Clapton's magical guitar playing. And if you don't know the band, I strongly recommend the album Disraeli Gears, released in 1967. 1. Traveling Wilburys. The band was formed by 5 rock and roll legends: George Harrison, Bob Dylan, Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, and Roy Orbison. And everything happened from a delicious accident in 1988. The record company Warner Brothers asked George Harrison to record a B-side for the single This Is Love. So George invited 4 of his best friends for a session at Bob Dylan's recording studio. Together they recorded the track Handle with Care, and thus Traveling Wilburys was born. The record company enjoyed the track very much, and soon after the band recorded 2 fantastic albums. Once again, I have to say that was so difficult to choose only 5 supergroups for this list. Many great bands, great supergroups were kept out, like Asia, like The Firm, like The Good, The Bad and The Queen, like the Plastic Ono Band, and many others. And I would like to know what your favorite supergroup of all time is. Maybe one out of my list, no problem, I don't know. Please leave your comments and see you soon. Bye bye.